I call Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It feels a little bit surreal speaking on a bill in the House today that repeals 31 acts that no longer exist, especially when the Minister who has charge of that bill, John Banks, suffers from what can only be called documented memory loss, amnesia, or documented memory loss, as I choose to call it, because that and not the regulatory reform bill or any other bill in his name is his current claim to fame. Convenient memory loss, forgetting whether he'd met with Kim.com, flown his helicopter to .com's mansion, and whether he'd asked for, been offered or received donations from that very same Mr. .com. In the circumstances...
We're on agricultural compounds and veterinary medicines, nothing to do with .com. Claire Curran.
Oh, that's the vote.
Claire Curran.
Well, Mr. Chair, in the circumstances, I think it would be pertinent to ask whether the Minister actually remembers what's in the bill, given the documented memory loss. So I was actually going to suggest that we give him a wee test and ask if he can name the 31 non-existent acts that are being repealed. Mr. Chair, this bill isn't actually even his bill originally. It was actually originally a Labor bill by the Honourable Leanne Dalzell, and then it became Rodney Hyde's bill. And now it's John Banks's bill. And there's certainly nothing wrong with this bill, and Labor supports it, as we have through all of its stages to date. Most of the changes in this bill are small and technical in nature and are hardly slashing red tape. And while it is all about, I guess, a bit of tinkering, that our view is that perhaps Mr. Banks should have made its passage more worthwhile by introducing his regulatory reforms into this bill, his regulatory reforms for schools, which regulatory reforms that, as Mr. Banks has been known to be saying on many an occasion, which is all about removing red tape, slashing red tape, that these reforms are about fundamentally changing the school system and introducing charter schools that weren't in the policy of this government going into the election, but which do away with a number of what I'm sure Mr. Banks considers to be trivial and pesky regulations, and are what the Prime Minister describes as people shouldn't be hung up on that, the fact that teachers without qualifications will be able to teach New Zealand children at those charter schools. So, and as has been described since that announcement, I think it was described by one academic as you can't put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. And it was a rebranding exercise which clearly demonstrates that the government has recognised that charter schools concept is political poison.
The Honourable Clayton Crosby.
Mr. Chair,